Eagle Street for Miami Dolphins edge Jaelan Phillips. And I thought, who could tell us about Jaelan Phillips? Who do I know that's a Dolphins fan? And then I thought, well, even though he's a New Yorker, John Jastremski, I believe, is a Dolphins fan. You can hear JJ, The Ringer, and Spotify's podcast, New York, New York. What's up, John?
Spike, thank you for the kind introduction. Yes, it is a little disturbing that as a true blue New Yorker, I'm a child of the 90s. The Jets and Giants sucked when I was a kid, and I was a sucker for Dan Marino, and it was a poor life choice, but it builds character. What can I say?
Well, I got to tell you, Dan Marino is my favorite quarterback of all time.
Hell yeah, Ike. And it's a travesty he never won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's one of the great regrets in life, and I had nothing to do with it. But it will bother me till the bitter end until I leave this earth.
You know, John, I have a question about you being a Dolphins fan, actually, specifically, because in my time in New York, so I come from Philly, where everybody here is an Eagles fan. We have there's the Cowboy fans here and there, but mostly it's just Eagles fans.
Yeah, it's a true sports city.
Real sports city. And
Unlike
I get
New
up,
York.
And so I get up to New York and I start working at your former place of business, WFAN. And, I realize, you weren't there when I got there, but you're a Dolphins fan. And in the morning, there's Gio. He's a Vikings fan. And there in the middays, there's Sal, who's a Falcons fan. And then there's Al Cintron, who's a Commanders fan. And Keith is a Cowboys fan. Is there something about New York where it's just more acceptable when you're growing up not to be a fan of one of the home teams? How does that happen?
I think that's more an NFL product, Spike, than anything else, because I don't know a lot of, other than, Simmons or people I work with at The Ringer, the people in my circle in New York are all Yankee or Met fans, but there's that divide. Basketball, there's literally 5 Net fans and Evan Roberts. Yeah. Everybody in New York City is unified around the Knicks. Football, maybe it's because there's 2 teams. It's a national sport. The Cowboys, the Steelers, the Niners, the Packers. I feel like in my life, in work circles and in life circles, I have a lot of friends who do not root for the 2 New York football teams. Why that's the case, I don't really have an answer, but I don't have that same answer in baseball and basketball.
We know why they don't root for the Jets. My goodness.
Well, yeah.
Listen, I agree. That is one of the great decisions I've ever made in my life because my dad is a Jet fan. And, don't get me wrong, both teams have been inept for 25 years, but, at least I've had fun with my team.
Yeah.
Rooting for the Jets is just, a miserable existence. I agree.
You have to understand, me as a program director, I get up there, and I'm like, Gio, what do you mean you don't cheer for one of the teams here? Same with Sal. What's going on here? In any case, before we get to the Dolphins, so you've been with The Ringer and Spotify for almost 5 years now, 4 years, something like that. Do you miss radio at all? A little bit?
Listen, I had great friends that I work with. I would say, Spike, more than anything, it's the people because it's such a people business. And, I have my great connections at The Ringer. I love everybody I work with. But, I see them maybe 2 or 3 times a year. That's just the reality of the national company. I do a gambling show with my guys every Sunday. I'll see them Wildcard Weekend. I see them in October. So you have that, camaraderie of, being around people, and having that vibe. And that more than anything, to me, I love my job right now. I basically am my own boss in a lot of different ways as far as content, as far as what we're going to do. Don't get me wrong. Simmons fantasy, they have a lot to say about that. But as far as the day-to-day of me kind of creating content, making my schedule around the games, having this wide range of people, I'm in Los Angeles and somebody's like, yeah, I listen to New York. And I'm like, holy smokes, that's insane. That blows my mind. But fan was home for me, man. I worked there for a decade. I never thought I would leave. That was my dream job as a kid. And the opportunity was different for me. But, local radio it's cool. It's unique. And New York has that. And Philadelphia has that. So, yeah, it's always going to be a part of who I am. But as of right now, doing the pods at The Ringer and doing TV on SOI, basically working 3 full-time jobs, life's pretty good, man.
So life's pretty good everywhere except your football team. That's
miserable.
Yeah,
that's
So the Dolphins are unraveling, and we'll get to. I want to ask you about that. But Jaylen Phillips specifically, missed a good part of the last couple of years with injury. What are we getting in Jaylen Phillips?
So you're getting a guy who's going to get after the quarterback. The complaint I would have about Jaylen Phillips did not finish this year. There were a couple of different instances. I saw it Thursday night against Lamar Jackson. there was this play that went viral on social media. And I don't know if you guys remember the Dolphin-Charger game when you had all of the football nerds drooling over Justin Herbert switching the ball from like his left to his right hand, and McConkey making a man miss and a tackle that I think I could have made, for goodness sakes, going 40 or 50 yards. Jaylen Phillips was the player that easily could have had Justin Herbert, didn't bring him down. So that was a complaint. But if you look at his metrics, I mean, this guy is getting in the backfield like crazy. He is going to generate pressure. He's going to be in a defense he knows very well because Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator in 2023 when Jaelan Phillips was having the best season of his NFL career before he went down with an injury. So the numbers may not like wow you from a sack standpoint, and I felt like there was a little meat that was left on the bone. But I also think that's a byproduct of the crummy team that he was on, the crummy defense that he was playing for. And you guys know this full well because you're talking about the Eagles on a regular basis. They need somebody who can get in the backfield and cause trouble and make life miserable for the quarterback. I think Phillips and Fangio's system should absolutely do that.
I'll tell you the one thing. I love the fact that Vic Fangio has a working relationship with him already, so he knows him personally. And I would imagine they wouldn't have made this move, but I got to ask it anyway just to get you on the record about it. From what you can tell us, what's he like as a sort of teammate? Like coming in, working hard, getting along with everybody in the locker room. Does he seem like he's a guy that his teammates love playing with?
It sure seems that way. He's been nominated for like the Dolphin Humanitarian of the Year award like multiple times. So again, I don't know how you want to grade that, Ike, but like when I see that sort of stuff, that's going to inspire me if I'm an Eagle fan. I never heard a bad word about Jaylen Phillips from like people down there. I can talk about other former Dolphins where they left and you started hearing the rats jumping off the ship saying, hey, this is a guy who complained a lot. This is a guy who started trouble when things kind of went AWOL. You didn't get any of that from Jaylen Phillips. I think he's a great dude. I think the biggest worry you would have and the biggest piece of concern you would have, the guy's made of glass. And that's why if I'm the Eagles, as far as a long-term commitment, despite the great fit that you may have in Fangio's system and despite the fact that he may go and ball out like crazy in the second half of the year, last year he tore his ACL, and I was at MetLife Stadium for that Hail Mary game with the Dolphins and the Jets, and on that crummy MetLife turf, I basically saw him pop his Achilles like right in front of my face. And this is a guy who had injury concerns going back to his time in college. So this is the perfect rental. That's how I would look at it if I'm the Eagles. And I wouldn't really give it what about the cost because, hey, you guys are in it to win it. There is a window. That third-round pick, Howie Roseman could figure out how to finagle another draft pick and find a fifth or a sixth-round gem. You're getting an elite-level pass rusher, assuming he can stay healthy. That, to me, makes a world of difference.
John Jastremski with us. You can hear John at The Ringer, Spotify, New York is the pod. JJ, one other thing on the injury stuff with Jaelan Phillips. So you mentioned the Achilles and then the ACL. Aside from him getting hurt again on the field when he's in there, does he look like there's any leftover from that, or does he look like the player from before he got injured?
First couple of weeks of the year, Spike, I think there was an argument to be made that he didn't have the same burst. But I think once the calendar turned to the month of October, that started to shift and change dramatically. Like, it's more about finishing these plays and maybe being back around Vic Fangio. There's another gear he can get to as far as, hey, like, not only are you getting great advanced stat pressure rates, but you're finishing as far as getting these sacks, and that's obviously what's needed. You want to be able to make those plays and finish them home. That was my biggest critique watching them this year because those two plays specifically, like the Herbert play, Dolphins were kind of like a fork in the road point in their season. It's like, geez, they just took a go-ahead lead. Maybe they can salvage this thing. Maybe they're going to go and beat the Chargers. He's got Justin Herbert sacked, but he can't finish the play. So I don't know if that's coming back from the injury. I think that's just more, hey, bad luck or maybe a little bit of a tweak as far as technique is concerned. But being in a much better defense and being in an environment where all of a sudden you go from playing games when your team is 2-6 and you stink to now you're playing Monday Night Football against the Packers and a game everybody's going to be watching. I can't wait to watch it on Monday night. you'd figure that'd bring out the best in somebody who is in an environment where now they can go win a Super Bowl and they're going to play for a contract as well.
So, did you see, as a Dolphins fan, this is from afar, it seems like one of the worst seasons of all time. Did you see this coming before the year? Was this even a possibility going into this year for the Dolphins?
So there were a lot of bad omens going into training camp. The whole Tyreek Hill situation, his disgruntled nature, the fact that the Dolphins didn't spend a whole lot in free agency. They had no corners until they signed Rasul Douglas off the street basically before the start of the year. The offensive line always seems to be a problem. And, honestly, Spike, I thought they'd be a 500 type team because when Tua played, normally they won against the bad teams. Like, that was the narrative. Tua plays, they beat the bad teams. They go up in competition. They lose to Buffalo, to Baltimore. I could give you the laundry list of teams. They're playing cold weather, that's the deal. But this season kind of unraveled. The Colt loss was so, shell-shocked. I was like, my goodness, what happened here? Turns out the Colts were pretty good. But it's like they invented ways to lose. Like, they would score a ton of points, their defense would stink. Their defense would be a little bit better, their offense would turn the ball over. But, that's what happens when you're a bad team. You find ways to lose. And they had a game, they lost to Carolina. They had a 17-point lead. It unraveled. Then they lost the Charger game the following week. That's the point where you're like, all right, this is beyond repair. It's time to blow this baby up. And it kind of stinks because I was invested in Mike McDaniel. I liked Mike McDaniel. I found him refreshing. I found him fun. But he's the sort of guy that, fellas, when things go bad, Ike, you know this, he doesn't fit the football motif. He's rolling up the pants.
Yeah.
He's got the hair. Now he's trying to play to the Miami vibe. He's the sort of guy when things hit the fan, the media's turning on him, the fans are turning on him. I don't know if he can command the locker room. So they got to blow it up. But you know what? It's one of those things. I've seen the Dolphins not blow it up 10 zillion different times in my life. It's almost like, great, wake me up when this actually has a chance to go win a playoff game.
All right, dude. I appreciate you coming on with us today and the insight on Jaelan Phillips and good luck with your capri pants for the rest of the year. I know you wear them as well, just like Mike McDaniel.
Oh, I am. You know what, Spike? Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I was wearing them before Mike McDaniel, so I made that. And I'm a tall, skinny guy. Mike's not really that tall.
No.
When you got skinny legs like me, it's better off because when you wear, otherwise your pants don't look like they fit.
Yeah. All right, dude. I appreciate you.
All right, John.
Thanks, Mike. Later, buddy.
All right, there he is, John Jastremski. You can New York is the podcast and The Ringer and Spotify.